Now I hear the blues are calling, tossed salad and scrambled eggs. What's up, nerds? This is NGR Radio B-Sides. This is our Friday show. It goes live every Friday at noon, I believe. We don't have the guy with all the details here, so it's just Moose and I doing a fire B-side, as in we're burning it down. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm well. Busy good. Monday.
That's good.
Got home, had dinner with the partner. It's a good time.
Makes the time fly when the day's busy.
Had me some tortellini with fresh tomatoes and basil. Oh, so good.
Nice.
So good.
That does sound good.
Just talking about it makes me want to go get more.
You can hold down the fort while you're doing it.
Nah.
I'll completely hold down the fort while you're doing it.
So the World Cup ended yesterday.
The
final was yesterday. The third place game was the day before. Belgium and England faced off in the third place game, and it wasn't a super dull affair, but I think it was 2-0 to Belgium. And I think England were just like they were riding a wave of positivity to the semifinal where they got eliminated by Croatia, and I feel like they went out very positively. I feel like it's not like when England normally goes out of a World Cup, it's usually pretty dour, and most of the country actually is super like down on the national team. I don't think that was the case this time because they weren't carrying themselves the way they normally do. They had ideas going forward. They played positively. They didn't really do what England normally do. And the 2-0 loss to Belgium. I feel like they would rather go home with the bronze, but that's as far as they've been in a very long time. I think that's as farthest they have been in the World Cup since 1990, and I think they lost the third place game that year too. So it was a good tournament for them. It was a good tournament for Belgium. Belgium were beat by the better team in France, and then that leads us to yesterday's final, 4-2 France over Croatia. What a fucking game!
Yeah,
I know like sports championship stuff usually isn't great. Like the NBA finals, like Golden State walked over Cleveland this year, and it was a nail biter a few years ago, going all the way to 7 games. That was 2 years ago. And then the year before that, I'm pretty sure they just walked over whoever they were playing, which might have been Cleveland. The Super Bowl, with the exception of this year, isn't usually an open game. It's usually super tight and rather boring, and that's why everyone talks about the halftime show, because it's the only real bit of entertainment you normally get. And this World Cup's final was the absolute exclamation point on is what officially my favorite World Cup that I've seen, especially that I've seen live. The most goals in a World Cup tournament were not scored this year, but it was entertaining throughout. We only had 1 0-0 draw, and that was Denmark against France, I think. And it was boring. That was the one game that was honest to God boring. And there was none of that throughout the rest of the tournament. There were a lot of red cards, lots of own goals, lots of set piece goals, lots of really good goals. Actually, France's defender Benjamin Pavard, scored an absolute rocket with the outside of his foot, and it was good stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, congratulations to France. They've won their second World Cup exactly 20 years after they won their first. So, and it's cool to see Didier Deschamps, who won it in 1998 as a player. Seeing him do that as a manager is that's a cool thing, because he was a great player. He wasn't flashy or known for scoring the goals, but he was really good at what he did. I'm pretty sure he was a defensive midfielder, but I could be wrong. He was good at that position. Actually, no, he wasn't. What am I talking about? He was just a central midfielder because they had Claude Makélélé. But yeah, France was really good. I think they got it right by giving the golden ball to Luka Modric of Croatia. Golden ball is like the MVP of the tournament. It's like it's the player that Luka Modric was completely instrumental in getting Croatia where they were. He was the steadfast nucleus in a very good team that probably wouldn't have they would not have gone anywhere near as far without him. And it was cool to see him get the golden ball over just somebody on the winning side, because I hate it when that happens. Like, give it to the right one, not just someone.
Yeah, give it to the best person. Yeah, like the MVP.
Yeah, so. And then Harry Kane for England, he got the golden shoe, scoring the most goals in the tournament. Good for him. I don't remember who got the golden glove, which is like the best keeper. For some reason, that detail is just eluding me, but there were great goalkeepers all throughout this tournament. I feel like Hugo Lloris of France, any English fan that doesn't support his team Tottenham, saw what he did in the final, and he basically scored an own goal, but he didn't because Mario Mandzukic of Croatia basically took it from him and scored.
Damn.
And they're like, and it's a comedy of errors, and Tottenham goalkeepers are just known for that. And Lloris, being one of the best keepers in the world, still no exception. That's kind of funny. But yeah, it's a good tournament. My favorite of all time. It was super entertaining. If you don't like soccer, you could watch that final and maybe just take empathy with someone who does. It won't make you a fan. If that game doesn't do it for you, watch Belgium versus Japan 2 rounds earlier. That is one of the best games I've ever seen. But yeah, this tournament was amazing, and it sucks that it's over, but I'm also kind of glad because now I can get back to just playing games instead of having to follow that all the time. Other than that, Moose and I are going to talk music this B-side.
Yeah.
Because we can. Moose, have you been
running
listening?
Shit around here.
Right? Yes. Wreck this shop, burn it to the ground, fire
I don't think we have to go that far. I think
you got me all excited now. Don't walk back.
No. Whoa. I was just saying, we're running stuff around here now. There's no need to burn. That doesn't mean burn it to the ground. That just means we're going to talk about what we want to talk about, without having to worry about boring our third chair, the most important chair.
But yes.
Yes.
I think we're just sort of watching the throne while he's away.
Right, exactly. We're just, we're trying to save the really tough decisions for him when he gets back, but we're making the small ones. We're throwing people in jail if they need to go in jail. We're taking care of, the lords and the dukes, making sure their money's given to them, all that stuff, or gotten from them. We're just watching over things while he's out and about. Like, and
we're not taking any off the top at all.
No,
nothing.
No,
embezzling. Everything is above board.
Yeah.
You know what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
We're totally stealing. No,
if there was anything to steal.
We're stealing nothing from nothing.
Stealing nothing from nothing's not a crime.
Right?
Yeah.
Taking it all.
Take that.
Catch me outside.
No.
So you've been listening to anything? You've been checking out anything new recently?
I fell down a rabbit hole with a band called Turbo Wolf recently. So they're a 4-piece band.
Whoa! 2 more pieces than you're used to.
Well, actually, I think they're 3 because the vocalist doesn't. They're a 4-person band. They're bass, drum, guitar. So the lead vocalist, as I've seen in the videos, does not play an instrument. But he might play an instrument. He just doesn't play.
Voice is kind of an instrument.
I'm not saying your voice is not an instrument. I'm just saying like he doesn't play a musical instrument. That's what I should say. Like he doesn't play guitar that I know of. I mean, he might play and he just doesn't play in the videos. You know, like because he's singing. You know, it could be one of those things. It could also be one of those things where like live performance, like Eddie Vedder, as far as I know in the beginning, didn't really play the guitar when he was doing Pearl Jam, and then eventually picked it up and started doing his own thing with it. And now he plays at shows, acoustic and whatnot. So they're out of Bristol, UK, and I found them because they were touring last month. They're touring with Royal Blood. So they're the opener for Royal Blood.
Royal Blood's a good time.
Yeah, they just came around on like the 14th of June. So like a month ago. You know, a little over a month ago. And I was like, well, who are they touring with? Like, who opened for them? And I looked it up. I was like, Turbo Wolf. I was like, I never heard of that. So I put them on, and their first album, I like all their stuff, but their first album is a little rough around the edges. And then like their second album, they kind of refine it. And then their third album, I think they're firing on all cylinders. Although I think their second album is my favorite album, just because the songs that are on it. But they got like this really hard, heavy hitting like metal sound sometimes, but then sometimes they don't. And I think they cleaned up the vocals on their third album. Like at their first album, it was just kind of like that's where I think it was the roughest is his vocals. Not that they're bad, it's just, you know, like I like clean vocals. I like really clean vocals. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't listen to like metal bands that are like growling. And it's just like I don't want to listen to you if I can't understand what you're saying. And it's not that you can't understand what he's saying. It's just it's a little rough, and so they refined. Like he cleaned up how he sings, I guess. You know, a little bit. Like, you know, probably maybe just decided to change his style, or got, you know, vocal coaching, whatever.
Or you think it could be a production thing where it just
maybe it's a production thing where, you know, that could be it too. So, but anyways, so they're really good. They've got they did do a really good cover of Electric Feel by Managed Band on it's on the deluxe version of their second album. I can't remember what their name it is. Oh no, on their first album. It's on their first album, Turbo Wolf, the deluxe edition of the first album. And then they also do a cover of Want Somebody to Love. Don't You Want Somebody to Love? Isn't that it?
Somebody to Love by Jefferson Airplane?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was like, that's cool. They do two covers, and they're like two completely different. Like they kind of sound like the Jefferson Airplane covers. Yeah. Just like it's crazy. It's actually a good cover. I really like the Electric Feel one too. But anyways, so I've been listening to them a lot lately, and Ghost, of course. Ghost is they put out a new album early in July.
Well.
I like it. I think the one before that, prior to their live album, is still my favorite one from beginning to end. I'm still listening to this one and still getting used to it. Not really used to it, just ingesting it, I should say. You know what I mean? It's like something where you're like, you know, it's I guess you could say it's like a growler or like a beer. You know, like as you get closer to the end of the beer, or the longer you spend with that beer, the more you're going to be able to enjoy it. So working towards that. But other than that, I mean, I've looked in some bands that Jeff shared with me. Kesem, I think it is.
Chemis.
Is it?
Maybe it's Chemis.
I'll look it up. But so he sent me one, and so we were, you know, I was like, we'll go back and forth because we both have Google, so we'll just send each other like stuff and be like, you know, check this out, check that out, you know, and God, what the heck is this? Oh, he pointed a band, Lucifer. So I've been listening to a band called Lucifer, which is pretty cool. It is, Chemis, Khemmis. So been listening to them a little bit, and I found the Dwarves, which is a really interesting band. So kind of like, I don't know with them, but other than that, that's pretty much what I've been listening to. You know, just putting it on while I'm at work or driving to and from work.
You've been listening to Desolation by Chemis, or?
Let me look at their catalog and I can tell you which. Well, because I think
That was
they
the one that
have
came out like July 2nd.
that. No, I think I went to the beginning of their stuff. Yeah, Desolation just came out. So like I like to start like at the beginning of things. I didn't know it just came out, so I didn't know how new it was. So if I knew they had a new release, like if I knew it just came out, then I would have went to that first. But usually when someone shares a band with me, I'll just be like, all right, I'll go to their first album and listen to it, and then I'll bounce to their latest one, and then kind of like just fill in the gaps with the rest of the catalog. Because it's like you can get like both ends of the spectrum as far as like if they have a certain amount of albums out, you'd be like, oh, this is where they were when they very first recorded an album. This is where they are now, and then like you can kind of like hear their growth throughout the rest of their albums. So yeah, they're pretty cool. I like them, but just trying to weave in and out of like more stuff like Ghost, some more stuff like I found Dinosaur Pile Up, which is out of the UK as well.
I've heard of them. I've not actually listened.
They're pretty decent. They're a little more rock. So like Turbo Wolf is kind of leans more towards like the metal side. Like they're real heavy. Like their bass and their guitars are like really like heavy sounding. And whereas in Dinosaur Pile Up is just more of like a cleaner rock sound. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
On like the spectrum,
I would say they're more like the Black Keys, like in the early garage rock stuff.
Okay,
like
so
you could also say like a
it's
Band
blues,
of Skulls.
It's like blues-based rock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
I mean, granted, if you want to make the argument, metal is blues-based rock, but that's going too far back. But like, I was gonna say, like, would you say post-grunge rocky like Foo Fighters or
okay. Like they're cleaner like that. Like they have like a hold on. Wife dropped a beer off for me. Yay!
Oh, nice.
Wife. So it is Lunatic Blonde. Nice. Cool. I haven't tried this yet. I don't think from Wicked Weed.
All right.
Wicked Weed. I don't know. It's whatever. I'm whatever with them. I'm cool with them.
Yeah. I like what I've had. I probably wouldn't buy anything from them, but that's a different argument.
They've got some solid beers, but I'm just I don't know. It's the whole sellout thing. Yeah. That could be a B-side for next week. We can talk about breweries selling out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so that's what I've been listening to. Just been trying to like branch out. I got a coworker of mine who played in a band, and then like one of the local towns has like a food truck Friday. I think it's every week, or it might be every other week, or it might just be once a month. I can't remember. I think it's every other week. And so his daughter sings in it, and so he plays guitar. As far as I know, I think either that or he plays both bass and guitar. But in the band he was in, I think he played bass. So he plays with her, and so like we'll bounce albums back and forth off each other too.
Okay.
So just trying to expand my knowledge on what stuff that he likes. There's a band called the Delta. God, I'll look it up. There's a band that he's like a huge fan of, and so I've been trying to get into them, but I just haven't gotten around to them. So, what about you, man? What are you listening to?
Well, speaking of metal, I checked out the new Death Heaven album. This band has only released a couple of. This might be their third. I don't remember. I was caught off guard by them a few years ago when I don't remember the name of the record, but it was a pink cover. But their new one, it's Corrupt Modern Love, I think.
Okay.
Let's see, it is called shit. No, that's not it. What is it? It's Ordinary Corrupt Human Love.
Okay.
I think it was dropped Friday. It is amazing. It's very, very new to me, so I don't want to just start heaping praise onto it. but
Right,
it's
right.
it's really very good.
Okay.
It's a little different than what they've done before, and I highly recommend it.
Okay.
I also kind of want to showcase this record up here. It's the Silvertones, Silver Bullets. It's a Vinyl Me Please's album this month. It's a reggae album, so not everybody's going to be on that train. But it's produced by a hero of mine named Lee Perry. Basically invented dub reggae back in the late '60s, early '70s. This came out of that time period, and it is probably one of the better reggae albums that you could look to. And it's actually kind of a landmark because of the time period. It also has a session with King Tubby, who is kind of like second in command as far as dub reggae is concerned. But they do a really good cover of Sugar Sugar. Yes, the annoying one that you're thinking of. And
My mom played that all the time. It was on the record player all the time.
Yeah,
well, not all the time. It was in a rotation, I should say.
Sure,
I heard plenty of it, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to ask you to go seek it out because of that, but I feel like a male vocal group with a 70s rocksteady beat behind them doing that, it's definitely interesting. But the album is phenomenal. Also, I want to talk about a jazz album that I've been getting into.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it's by a guy called Kamasi Washington. He released an album in 2015. I believe it is his first actual release, called The Epic. This is, and it is literally that. It is like a triple vinyl set. It's very long. It has like an interesting Lisa Frank type cover, but it's way less idiotic than that. But the guy's all over the map in as far as jazz is concerned. Like he does a couple of covers.
Okay.
He covers the theme song from the movie Fists of Fury on this album. That opens it. The album is called Heaven and Earth. He has a weird looking gold suit on it, and for the amount of music he has released in 2 efforts in an EP. His EP Harmony of Choice was one of my albums of the year last year. I would probably say start there just because it's a smaller chunk of music. Mm-hmm. I feel like trying to sit down with the Epic or even Heaven and Earth, because Heaven and Earth is almost as much music as the Epic, but it's like it feels bigger. I feel like sitting down with either one of those is it's kind of unwieldy, because it's a long time to just, especially if you're not a jazz fan, or if it's something that you're coming to for the first time, or you don't really know how to approach it. It's intimidating. Right. But the surprise here, there's the twofold. In the album, he buried another disc of material. It's an EP called The Choice. It was actually covered in one of the flaps of the album that I bought. And I didn't find it because like I thought something was in there, but I don't like tearing up my covers. Okay. So I didn't do it. But then Pitchfork reviewed it and said, yeah, if you have one of the big gatefold records of this, it's in there.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, I know it's there. But I just Spotified it because I don't want to ruin the cover. And maybe if I feel like, maybe if he releases it individually, I might get a pressing of it. But I don't know. I don't feel like it's as good or better than anything on Heaven and Earth. But what really just kind of dropped my jaw is he did a cover of the Five Stair Step song "Ooh Child." Okay. Like "Ooh Child, things are gonna get easier." That.
Right. Yeah,
just making sure.
Right.
Oh, Ed's in the chat. I just noticed.
I had a
So-
wonderful weekend, Ed. It was very
I had a wonderful weekend too. I did.
Thank you for saying that. I hope your weekend was.
I hope your weekend. Yeah, I hope you had a fantastic weekend. I know you're working hard at your new job, Ed. So glad to see you. Hang out for a while.
That's right.
But this cover of Ooh Child might be one of the most optimistic things I've heard this year.
Okay.
Not really because like it's a shocker that song has optimism in it. But I think the way that he uses it, like his alto sax is not like super prominent. He has, I believe, 2 males just harmonizing the lyrics of the song. But there's the second time where they go, someday things are going to get easier.
Right.
It's the way that everything seems to drop out, and there's like this sparse, airy, almost echo to it. It's like you're standing like you're standing in a meadow, and a gust of wind hits you the right way, and it's like nice and warm.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a bit like I know it's a bit abstract, but like it's one of those things where you're just like, oh, I could just stay here for a while now. So yeah. If you don't feel like listening to a long, sprawling jazz album, check out Kamasi Washington's 8.5-minute cover of Ooh Child. It's worth it, in my opinion.
Wow, 8.5 minutes.
Well, he does the jazz thing where he's working stuff. He's working with the band, and then the vocals come in. But it doesn't really feel wasted, despite its length. It doesn't feel like they're just inflating it. Sometimes I love the album Heaven and Earth, but sometimes it feels like maybe you could have cut some stuff, just maybe. But that's also me with jazz.
Okay.
And then that's really it. Deaf Heaven, Kamasi Washington, Silvertones. The hip hop album for this month was an album by an artist I've heard of but never actually listened to. Open Mike Eagle. He's an MC of note, and I'm looking forward to popping my cherry with that.
Very nice.
And then let's see, what else have I found anything else?
What's your album of the year so far?
So far,
and that could be like we were talking anything. Doesn't have to be like. Something could be something you found.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. My favorite album this year. I really like Amen Dunes. I like his album. It's his 5th, and I'd never heard of him before this sort of came across my feed and Spotify. His album is really good. It's very singer-songwriter-y, but it doesn't sound like the early 70s. Which is good. Against All Logic is a really good dance album. The artist is Against All Logic. The album is called 2012 to 2017. I've been listening to that probably the most this year.
Okay.
I'm a sucker for Father John Misty, but I don't think his album will make my 20 this year. Or at least that's how it feels right now. The new Beach House album. Definitely. New Beach House. That is probably the only album of theirs you could probably get down with, because I don't feel like you're a dream pop type of person.
No, not
really.
I mean,
you do like ABBA, and there's some of that there, but like I feel like this is more low-key, slow-tempo, 80s, chimey. I feel like that might be just outside the Moose wheelhouse.
Okay.
But check out their new one. It's actually heavy. It's real good.
Okay. Cool.
I think we can call that a B-side. What you think?
I think that's fine.
Okay. So,
B-side.
Listeners, viewers, I don't know the script just yet, but I'm learning it. But I do know that B-Sides comes out every Friday at noon. So you can check us there on YouTube or your pod service of choice, because it is now a podcast. I do believe this is the fourth one of these. It's either the third or
B-sides?
fourth. Yeah.
B-sides?
The fourth podcast. Since Corey has been breaking it out into a podcast, it's the fourth one, I believe.
We've been doing B-sides forever, dude.
That's not what I'm saying. I think this is the fourth episode that has gone up on iTunes. Because he broke it
Apologies.
out as a podcast.
I'm calling you now. Sorry, I had gum. I used all my brain cells trying to hunt down the racists in Mafia 3 today, so I just didn't,
Hey, time well spent, cells well wasted.
That's right. That's what I say.
You did the right thing as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
But yeah, so B-Sides goes out every Friday at youtube.com/NGR Radio. You find Moose and I there, and then you can also find us on the main show that will begin shortly after this if you're watching us live. So, B-Side Nana and out.
You're welcome.